What's up, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Ignace and today we're going to review yet another gimbal, but this time we're going 5-axis. Before I start this review, if you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to give this video a like and also subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload new videos. Before I start this video, I want to let you guys know that I did not get sponsored to make this video, but I did get the gimbal for free. But anyway, I will give my true and honest opinion on it. Alright, so this is the Film Power Nebula 4500 slant 5-axis gimbal. It looks kind of like an exosuit, but that's not the point. More importantly is the 5-axis stabilization, which means that the up and down movements from your gimbal will be smoothed out or completely removed. And I must say they did a really good job on that. This gimbal might not be for everybody, but it definitely deserves a choice on your choice list depending on what you're looking for. So basically the standard gimbals, which are 3-axis gimbals, whether it's dual hand or single hand grip, they come as a 3-axis gimbal, so that means you have to make a very smooth or kind of ninja walk to get a very smooth movement, and that gets really hard, especially while running or running on uneven surfaces. So that's why the Nebula 4500 constructed a new design where you have springs in the handles, and that would actually remove, because of the weight of the camera, it would remove the up and down movements that you're making while walking or running, and it did an incredibly good job at it. So that's really awesome. The footage is much more stable. This gimbal is probably targeted to an audience that really does longer shoots, for example event shoots or wedding films, or just when you're working with heavier payloads and longer periods of time. Because you're working with a dual hand grip, it gets less stress on the back and it's easier to carry for a longer time. I kind of feel that I could hold this gimbal for a very long time, and the payload on this gimbal is up to 4 kilograms, which you don't see in most gimbals. Especially if you're going single hand, that's not really the case. So that's also a great plus if you have heavier lenses or a heavier camera. This gimbal might be something for you. I also like how they created this gimbal to be so compact. Even though it's a dual hand grip, you can easily put it in your camera bag, so that's pretty amazing. And if you're tired of using the dual hand grip on this gimbal, you can also switch it out, because they actually provided a grip to convert this gimbal into a single hand gimbal. The battery of this gimbal lasts up to 8 hours, so that's really nice. So that's about the average in every other gimbal, and it's also really easily chargeable because it's just a battery that you can slip in on the back and then just plug it in to charge it. So you don't have to take out any batteries, put them in a battery charger like some of the gimbals that I have worked with do. I really like that this is just convenient. You can even leave it on the camera while you're charging it and then just put it back on once it's charged, so that's pretty cool. To balance this gimbal, it was pretty easy. I took only 1 minute to balance my camera on this gimbal. It's completely toolless, or well, it's not completely toolless. It could have been a little bit better. For example, when I want to mount the camera, I do need a screw to mount my camera on there, which you could easily have done with another screw, so that you can do it with your hand. But apart from that, everything is toolless, so you don't need any tools to stabilize your camera or put it in order. But I would have loved one single option, and that's to do these minor adjustments while you're adjusting your camera balance, because sometimes I kind of like to push my camera a little bit more and then I kind of slip out and it's a little too far. I have to pull it back and re-find that balance. Would be nice if you have like a knob that would just turn and do these very minor kind of adjustments to the camera to perfectly balance it. But even though that would be something that I would like to see in the future, it wasn't really a problem in this case, as I did set up my camera very quickly. I kind of roughly stabilized my camera and immediately it was stabilized on the gimbal, so it isn't a really big problem. I just really like if I can leave all my tools at home and just stabilize everything and use everything without any tools. Everything comes with what it's supposed to be. This gimbal has 4 different options: a lock mode, a semi-follow mode, a follow mode, and a follow roll mode, which is kind of unique. You can all change these options by clicking on the button right here. So that's pretty cool, and using this gimbal was very enjoyable and very easy to use. So the usability of this gimbal is pretty straightforward. I would have liked to see a thumb controller where I can move the camera around with this controller. It doesn't have that in this gimbal, which is kind of unfortunate. But then again, I didn't really see the need to use that because you can just move your camera and move it around and then get the exact same motions. but on a single hand gimbal, I really often use that. On a dual hand gimbal, you're often going to do it with your hand motions, so it's not really necessary. It's kind of a luxury, but I would have liked to see it in there. Then if you want to do some finer adjustments on the speed of the rotation or anything that comes like to being technical, and I personally never find the need to really use these, but you can change all the settings using the app or the software on your computer. So if you want to do that, you can simply connect your gimbal and do all the tweaking. I never found a use to do that because my gimbals usually just work the way I want them to work, but if you're a gimbal freak or you want to go crazy, you can do that with this gimbal, so that's also really awesome. Now my favorite thing about this gimbal is that it has a slanted design, which means that you can actually see your screen on your camera while you're recording. So the way it's also designed is that your camera is on top and you're holding the gimbal below it, which is really nice because usually your gimbal is on top, your camera is right here, and you're holding it in front of you, so your camera would be a little bit lower than your body and you can't actually see your camera. That's one. But once you put it on top and you convert and you rotate that gimbal, usually you have something in the middle right here just in front of your screen to kind of hold your camera in place. They designed this to be slanted so you can see your display clearly while you're recording, and it also comes at head height, which is really enjoyable working with a gimbal like this. I haven't experienced a gimbal like this to be just in front of me and just seeing the display so clearly, so that's really awesome. I have done a ton of things, so I really love the slanted design on this one. Also, this gimbal isn't that heavy, although it can go up to 4 kilograms in payload. The gimbal itself is really lightweight, and I kind of feel like I can really hold this gimbal for a long period of time. Maybe even the longest gimbal I could hold for a longer period of time, so it's really comfortable. Also, some really good thoughts they had on when creating this gimbal is that they have plenty of options to mount things to. So on the handles you have 2 mounts where you can mount like a monitor or your microphone. On the bottom you can mount a tripod, or you can even mount your gimbal separately to a jib, which is really awesome. So you have plenty of options to kind of extend this gimbal to be more to your preferences, so that's really cool. And if you mount it on a jib or something on a tripod, you do have a separate controller where you can then just control your gimbal's movements. So while you're using a jib, for example, you have a control box where you can do the movements. This is a separate buy, so yeah, if you want that, you have to go and get it, but it's really nice they give you that option, although I would have loved to see that integrated into the app. I have used gimbals in the past that have integrated that option in the app, so I just connect it with Bluetooth and have a joystick on my phone where I can move around with the gimbal. So that would have been nice, but anyway, you do still have that option, so that's kind of most importantly. And if you still want to use your phone while you're doing gimbal work, you can still do that. You have no obligations to have that connected or when your battery is dying. So honestly, I don't prefer to use my phone when it comes to work because it always gets combined, and like for example with drones, using my phone as display, I'm not a big fan of that. But in this case, I would have kind of integrated in there. That's my personal opinion. It's not really necessary, but it has a joystick, so it does what it has to do. It's also pretty easy to set it up because you don't have to mount it on a tripod in order to stabilize it. You can just put it on the floor on its legs. It's kind of stabilized enough to put it on a surface. It's not perfect, but it stabilizes well enough, and then you can just move around with the gimbal and try to be a little bit careful not letting it fall over or it would break your camera. But I really hate mounts when it comes to gimbals. I just want a gimbal that can stand on its own. It's a really big plus, especially if you're going to have a very stressy environment like wedding videography and you want to just quickly stabilize it and go. I had, for example, the Ronin M in the past. I had to put the mount somewhere, I had to go in the mount and stabilize it like that. It's really a total pain, so that's really cool that I don't need a mount in order to stabilize the camera again. Alright, so my conclusion on this gimbal is that it is an amazing gimbal, especially for people that look for heavier payloads. If you're using heavier lenses or a heavier camera, it's a really good gimbal for you, and especially if you do longer and very active events like weddings, after movies, or even sports when you have to run and catch your shot as stable as possible. This gimbal is definitely for you. The no screen blocking is definitely a great plus with the slanted design Also the 5-axis stabilization is really amazing. One of the, well, it's actually my first experience with a 5-axis gimbal, and it does its job amazingly. The gimbal also has an unlimited 360 degrees rotation, which means that it can break the cable, so you can rotate it and rotate it. And actually my first gimbal broke of this reason because it didn't have that unlimited 360 rotation, and you kind of have to remember what rotations you're doing on your gimbal, because otherwise it would break. In this case it's not necessary, so that's really nice that you don't have to focus on that or think about that. And all the cables are hidden. Alright, so now let's talk a little bit about the negatives. This gimbal does not have a control knob for your thumb controllers, but then again you don't really need it, so it's not that big of a deal. It's not 100% toolless, it's more like 99% toolless. You do need a screwdriver to mount on your camera and kind of fiddling around to kind of get it balanced perfectly, but then again it didn't take me that long to balance it, and once you know how to do it, it's no problem whatsoever. This gimbal is sturdy, it is quality, and it works, and it does the job that it has to do. There could be personally incorporated a little bit more into that app, and it's not completely user friendly in my opinion. I'm not a big fan on going into the technicals of a gimbal, but yeah, then again that's a personal opinion. The time-lapse feature isn't super user friendly, but once you figure it out, you're good to go. And then my personal opinion is that I really love things that have a premium look and feel, and I kind of miss that a little bit on this gimbal. That has nothing to do with the quality or with the performance of the gimbal. I just like to have a fancier look on my gimbals that just make it look like the quality is there. I kind of miss that a little bit, although it is a good quality and it looks kind of nice, but I would have done so much more. There is still room for opportunity in here and to improve this gimbal, so I can't wait to see their next gimbal. But definitely this gimbal is worth it if you're just into shooting, run and gun, easy for longer shoots with heavier payloads and a lot of movement that you just want to stabilize. You don't want to spend hours and hours in Premiere Pro or whatever software you're using to stabilize your footage. So definitely go and check it out. Do your own research. I always advise you to do that. And apart from that, I hope you enjoyed watching this review. If you did, give this video a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload new videos. Also check out our website. We have a bunch to offer for filmmakers and motion graphics artists, and if you buy something from our website, it really helps to support this channel, so that would be really awesome. And then I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.